So there is one thing which is hunger, and there is another thing which is appetite.
And then as they mature, whenever they go through a lot of turmoil, they will turn to food.
Yeah. They are obese, but they're not nourished. Obesity doesn't mean nourishment. You are just giving them food as a pacifier. So every time when they want something, they will expect food or some snack. So this is what I tell people. Please never use food as a pacifier for your kid. My name is Deepanshi Kataria, and I'm a clinical dietitian. And I'm also a diabetes educator with over 4 years of experience. Currently, I'm working in a setup where it's not just about weight maintenance, right? So we are working on the body, like completely. We're working on the body contouring as well. So that is something new that I have got into. So here, what we do, we focus on the spot reduction, which is not normally possible with the diet and workout.
I want to circle back and do a session with you on child obesity because that is your core strength. And we want to understand how big the problem is. I was reading an article and it says that child obesity in India is at an all-time high. Problems like high BP and diabetes in children are very prominent now. According to you, how big a scale is child obesity and how do we identify that?
Yes. Actually, you are definitely right that you came across this article and it was telling about the problems, how these problems are coming up in children. Because this child obesity is actually like a hidden epidemic.
Yes.
Okay, because we normally do not consider an obese child as an obese. We usually see them as chubby, this is cute. And by saying this and by doing this, somehow, somewhere, we're actually normalizing it. And people actually, love playing with chubby kids more. This obese child is actually going to be an obese adult.
Yes.
Right? And when it comes to how big is it? So according to a WHO report of 2022, so almost 43% of adults who are like around the age of 18 years and over are like overweight. So you can see like half of the adult percentage is overweight. And the children who are under 5 years of age, they are like 37 million children. And when it comes to the children between the age of 5 to 19 years, it's nearly 390 million children who are overweight. So you can see this particular number, which is like 43% of adults are overweight. This number was around 25% back in 1990. So you can see over these years, number has doubled itself. So what's personally scary for me is like what's number going to be in next 10 years, next 20 years. It can double again. So we can see like how is this going to be a situation when every other individual will be overweight or obese. So this is my concern and it's me personally when I see a child sitting next to me and their parents are like very aggressively wanting to lose weight. My question to them is the first phase, why did the child gain weight? This was not a weight when the child was born. When it comes to understanding and measuring how we do it, it's very common and basic thing like BMI. So BMI is something that we use to see like whether a person, a normal adult, is in the category of normal person or overweight or obese. But when it comes to children, it's a bit different. So we actually see the BMI percentile range. So there are graphs. So there are values like if a child is coming within the range of 5th to 84th percentile, that child is considered a healthy weight. And between 85th to 94th percentile, it's overweight. And above 95th percentile, it's obese. So BMI is something that can be easily calculated. Like people who are there, they can easily check for a BMI calculator online. Like they can put their height, they can put their weight, and they can check in which BMI category they are. Right? But when it comes to children, we have to consider their age, their height, their weight, and their gender. So all these factors together make up the percentile of a child. This is how we actually figure out.
So it's a little bit more tricky to measure BMI in children.
Yes, for children, it's even more tricky to understand whether the child is actually overweight or obese or within the healthy weight. We cannot just look at a person and we tell. Even in adults, when it comes, it's not always the BMI. So when we talk about like a bodybuilder, right? A bodybuilder will always have a higher BMI. You might end up finding that value in the range of overweight or obese. Because in BMI, we are not considering the body composition. We are only considering the height and the weight. So when it comes to a person who is into bodybuilding, so the weight is actually coming from a lot of muscles, right? So that is why it's telling the value is coming out so high because the muscle mass is higher, right? So BMI is only used for the general population. It's not for the exceptional cases like strength training or bodybuilding. But for the kids, we cannot do that. There is a there is a value, there is a percentile. So we just check it, like how is the value going, and then we make out that, that this child is actually overweight or obese.
Off the topic, but the numbers that you just quoted is very scary. These children will mean an obese adult and it will mean an obese society. We anyway are known as the world's capital of pre-diabetic patients. And therefore, are we even equipped as a country to handle and to tackle that kind of unprecedented health emergency? Do we even know the scale of problem that we are going to face in a few years' time when these children, obese children, become, like, let's say 60, 70? Because I don't think we've had this kind of issue before as a nation.
No, we are not even ready. We are not even equipped with that much level of technologies, or we are not having that much number of doctors to handle. See, Jamie, I have worked in a government setup in Delhi for 3 months. So I've seen how much people are struggling. It was really scary to see. Like it's a struggle for the Indian system, to manage the patients, and how patients are struggling to get the beds in the hospital. That too for a normal day. So they have this criteria, like without test, you have to look very, critical patients to get admitted into the hospital.
The reason why this topic came into my mind is I met a 4-year-old child. He weighs 34 kilos. It's not cute. What do you think are the contributing factors of child obesity?
When it comes to the contributory factors, the primary and the most important contributory factor is the diet. So whatever we are eating, that needs to be used. It should be, the calorie intake should be equal to the calorie intake. But we are eating in surplus that will ultimately get stored in our bodies, and it will lead to weight gain. So not over over a period of few days or maybe few weeks, over a period of month or years, it will ultimately lead to the issue of overweight or obesity. The same goes for a child. So I'm giving you a small example, like nowadays, like how children love to eat out and we just have such snacks like Maggie or something. Okay, so let's do a comparison. There are 2 people living in the family. Okay, one is an adult who's heavily active, right? And he goes to gym and he has a requirement of 3,000 calories per day. And there is another child who has a requirement of like 1,500 calories per day, right? Or maybe 1,200 calories per day. And they both want to eat noodles. Okay, the noodles are giving around 300 to 400 calories. It won't make major contribution to the calorie requirement of the adult. But see how much calories are going into the child if he is having a small pack of noodles. Right. So also these noodles are not going to be just a meal. It will be a snack because it is served as a snack. So these are the things that apart from diet, what we are taking or what we are serving our kids. So that is actually leading to a lot of calorie deposits in the body.
Never considered that, all these snacks in between. And I've seen children eat an adult-sized portion of noodles.
So it's completely up to us.
Yes.
What are we serving them and how are we serving them? It's not the child's responsibility.
That's true. Right? True. Yeah. So yes. First one is diet.
Yes. And the second factor is physical activity, definitely. So in previous times, there was, I personally feel there was a lot of physical activity we were a part of. But nowadays things have, reduced a lot. It's not because the games are not there or there are no reasons. It's because the stress of studies or maybe other family stuff is more on children than physical activity. In previous times, kids used to have a lot of time. They were not having a lot of homeworks, projects, and there was school stuff, models and all. So they had time to play. I remember when I was a kid, so I used to play like 2 to 3 hours a day, sometimes even 4. Post finishing my homework, we had no other work. But now kids come from school, they have one tuition, they have another tuition, they have other classes. I'm not sure when is the time when kids will actually get time to get into some physical activity or the games.
It's a lot of stress, that's for sure.
Yes, it's definitely the stress factor. Okay, and pressure is not something that a child can do about. It is us that we as a society have to spread the awareness, and our education system has to be planned in such a way so that we are not just taking care of the education or the career of the child, but also of the health of the child.
We are not teaching good lifestyle to the kids.
Yes, we are lacking somewhere.
According to you, then, what's the recommended amount of physical activity for a child? Could you tell us how inactivity contributes to obesity?
If a child has a requirement of 1,000 calories, but the child is ending up having 1,500 calories or maybe 2,000 calories. So where are those extra calories are going? It's getting stored in the body in the form of, initially it will be glycogen and ultimately it become fat. But those calories are not getting used up. But then the child will be more active, so ultimately the stored calories will be used up, and it will help to avoid the future consequences or avoid the obesity and overweight.
We talked about blood pressure, high blood pressure. We talked about being diabetic. What are the other major health complications associated with child obesity?
It's definitely diabetes is a major one, which is becoming very common. It's not just type 2, even type 1 diabetes is very common. And it comes to hypertension. That is again a very common issue. Then next, other issues are not always related to health. Like, when it comes to, people when they're overweight or obese, they get bullied. They're taking this anxiety. They are a victim of depression or anxiety. Not just that, they develop sleep apnea, right, where they are not able to sleep properly. So these are the issues which children face when they're overweight or obese. They are obese, but they're not nourished. Obesity doesn't mean nourishment. Obesity happens when there are a lot of calories they have consumed, right? But not from the right food. So they're undernourished somewhere. Why? Because the nutrients, the vitamins they're lacking. For example, they might develop, brittle bones. In future, they might also develop osteoporosis, right? Because of the weakened bones they are not taking proper calcium, or they are not, exposed to the sunlight because not playing out. So it will lead to calcium deficiency and vitamin D deficiency. So these are the factors that will ultimately show up in the adulthood.
That is scary. Before we did this interview, I was checking out the market and I was looking at all the snacks that are available for children. None of them look healthy. None of them look good also. They're all sugary and colored drinks. And there's so much of chips and junk food and whatnot. And with all kind of aromas also. What factor do they play in childhood obesity or health consequences?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I was coming to this point only, right? Because we as a society are another factor that leads to this child obesity. So see, over past few years, the food cost has actually gone down. And the number of families with two incomes or multiple incomes have gradually increased. So that is the reason the food has become more affordable. And these unhealthy food options that you just mentioned are very easily available, and they are so well marketed that you cannot just escape the advertisement. Whether you're using your phone, you're using your computer, or you're on TV, or even you're just walking, you will get the boards and you get hoardings. So there are a lot of advertisement. There are a lot of, they're pushing a lot of pressure on food with contain lots of sugars. There are lots of trans fats are there. So this is the reason it's very difficult to escape. And we as parents, it's not practically possible to keep our children locked inside.
That's true.
But yes, but when there is a phase when the child is just 4 or 5, during that period, if we inculcate good habits in them, healthy eating habits, that will help a lot in future. For a kid who's born in a family of a terrorist, the terrorism will be normal for them. That will be their normal. So whatever is going inside your family, be it comes to behavior, be it comes to eating habits, be it comes to your emotional intelligence as well. So whatever is normal practice of their parents or the family members, it will become normal for the kids. They don't understand what's right and wrong. And the parents are the biggest role model of the children. So we should be sure that what we are doing, even the single thing we're doing, it's impacting our child, because that child is watching you.
So we talked about unclean food available in the market. Would you be able to suggest some better quality or cleaner food product? Because children are going to eat junk food. Are there any healthier options?
Yes, there are actually. Okay, and if not just the market, there we can, because I don't think I should be mentioning any particular brand over here, but there are. So let's take a small example. Like you said, snacks. Okay, so we can always check the ingredients. It's very easy. Okay, you don't have to do any calculation or anything. The most ingredient which has the maximum percentage in that food, it's written at the very first. For example, if there are chips, so just check for the first ingredient. So that makes it the majority of that particular food product. Example, if there is a wheat, somebody has mentioned the refined wheat flour, and then they have mentioned the rice, and then they have given the name as rice chips. So no, it's not a rice chips. they have mentioned refined wheat flour as the first ingredients. So that means the majority of the ingredients is rice wheat. There's a refined wheat flour, not the rice flour. So this is something we are not aware of, and we just look at the packaging, what is mentioned, because we cannot say it's wrong because it has rice. So they have given the name of rice flakes or maybe rice chips. So this is how we are getting tricked in the market when it comes to snacks. So you can always go for the snacks which are like baked, roasted. If it's mentioned there, then definitely you can go for that and check for the trans fats. How much is this trans fat? The trans fat should be lesser. So if it doesn't have any trans fat, still you can consider. But there are so many fried food that have a lot of trans fats. Primarily, when it comes to snacks, you can go for the baked and roasted products. Okay, but when it comes to other things, like for example, there are pastas and noodles. So we're getting lucky with the technology that there are a lot of variations available nowadays. If kids insist on noodles or pastas, you can easily get multi-grain pastas. You can get easily multi-grain or maybe whole wheat noodles. They're very easily available. So you can serve them those products instead of ready-to-eat noodles, which are there in the packet, like 2-minute noodles or something else. Even the normal food, which is very bland in taste, you can add a lot of masala and spices. Spice mix are available, so you can make it more interesting, creamy. Instead of adding cheese, you use milk. By thickening the milk, it will give a consistency of cheese and cream. So it will again be an alternative for cheese and butter. So this is what I personally do when I have to make pastas or something. So I use milk instead of cheese.
Very good idea.
Yes. Also, you can do it with snacks. For example, like the normal Indian snacks, like you have makhanas at home or you have peanuts. So as such, if you will serve them, it will not tempt them because it doesn't have any color or it doesn't have any taste. Or maybe they have tried it before. So you can use a lot of spice mix and herb mix. Make it interesting. So maybe 1-2 times when you will sit in front of them and you will have those snacks, it will somewhere motivate them to have one bite. And once they will like it, they will ask for more.
Yes.
So these are the techniques that you have to use. And it's not just when you are trying to inculcate those habits. It is also when you are trying to, prevent them from developing bad habits. For example, there are some things you cannot completely avoid. Like for example, if you're having tea or coffee, there are family members, there are adults who you do have tea and coffee and you cannot avoid it. And you cannot hide it from the kids that you're having such beverages. But it's not healthy. So there are ways how we can tell them that this thing is not for you. There's no particular, science behind it that these are the methods you can follow. And so that you can prevent your kids from developing like bad habits. You have to understand your child's psychology. When I was insisting for tea, so my mother just tried carefully to hand me the cup of tea. So that was very hot. So I suddenly left it like, I'm not going to touch it. And after that, I never demanded for tea. Whenever I used to ask for a snack, which is not healthy for me. So for that particular time, my mother put a little bit of more salt and a little more chili on it. So when I tasted it, it was very spicy for me. So I never asked for that particular thing. So sometimes there is something what you cannot avoid, but you don't want your child to consume. So you can follow such techniques which are not harmful. But yeah, for once in life, you have to do such things.
If we want our children to eat healthy, we have to lead by example. And we also have to use a lot of tips and tricks. I wanted to come back and ask you elaborated on all-purpose flour which is used, for example. Are there any other major ingredients that we should be in the lookout for? For example, the sodium means salt. Are there any glaring ingredients we should stay away from?
Yeah, actually there are like a lot of harmful ingredients which are less common in like packed snack like MSG, which is getting used up. And there are a lot of preservatives, like sometimes you might find just one preservative. There might be, artificial flavorings. There will be artificial colors.
Yes.
So these are the things. When you go for drinks, they clearly say that no artificial color or flavorings, which is not true. It does have.
Yes.
Because no natural flavoring and natural food will stay longer. It does not have shelf life.
Yes.
They do put, and no natural food will give you that bright colors of juices or drinks. There's no perfect snack for kids. But yeah, we can create a lot of snacks at home. So me being a nutritionist, so this is what concerns people, like parents of the children, like how can we make healthier snacks and easy to carry snacks? Or maybe for the kids, even the meals, if they're demanding for noodles, they want noodles. They're demanding for chips, they want chips. So what do we do? That is where the nutritionist comes. They help you with the options and the preparation. So how you can actually satisfy your child without, depriving them of their favorite food. Right? We can use ragi, we can use multigrain to make crackers, to make noodles, or to make pastas.
So we have to get very creative in the kitchen.
Yes, it is. And it is a tedious task because, nowadays, still back then there were no so much of pressure when it comes to money or finances. So people had time, a lot of time to invest in such things. But nowadays people want convenient food, right? When mothers not just when it not just comes to food, everything, they just want to distract the child. They hand over something, some snack, they hand over phone, or they turn on the TV just to pacify the child. So this is what I tell people. Please never use food as a pacifier for your kid. They will relate it. They are very small, like just 1 2 years of kid. You are just giving them food as a pacifier. So every time when they want something, they will expect food or some snack. Only then they will be calmed down.
And then,
Otherwise, there is no other way.
and then as they mature, whenever they go through a lot of turmoil, they will turn to food.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. It is stress eating.
It
We
is.
know because this is something that has helped us in past in our childhood all our life, and now this is what's going to help us.
Oh my God.
It's not, because child still has a good metabolism, but an adult doesn't have. So it is ultimately leading to a lot of more problems for them.
This is so enlightening. I want to come to the kitchen and our homemade food. The food, ready-made food that we get in the market is going to be less nutritious than homemade meals. However,
Yes.
despite the type of being homemade meal, the vegetables we get, the fruits we get, all these things are not organic these days. As a dietitian, how do we maneuver this? How do we ensure we get the best quality food for our children?
So when it comes to the raw material, so we are not in the times when the things were grown next to our house. We have to get it from outside. We need to make sure that we are at first we are always going for seasonal and regional stuff. What is easily available and what is regional will have the higher tendency to be more healthy. There's no food check that we can perform at home to see whether this food is grown in a very correct manner or not, right? Or if there are artificial pesticides and insecticides, they are getting used because people want to make money. They don't want to lose their crop, so they are using all these stuff. But yeah, the things that are locally available in that particular area which is grown there. Okay, because for example, see this, people are more, fascinated by such stuff like avocados, blueberries, and a lot of berries which are not commonly available in India. So this is something if you're getting for at first, it's going to be very expensive. And the second thing, the chances are again higher of the contamination or the adulteration. It's not just about that particular thing, the vegetable or the food, any other thing which is not available here, which is not readily available here, has a higher tendency of the adulteration and the high food cost. Like you can see olive oil. Olive is not common here. So olive oil is an expensive thing. Instead of that, we can go for mustard oil. And the mustard oil has variety. There is a yellow mustard oil, which is very healthy. Yes. We can use ghee, right, which is more common. You see, so we are more fascinated by the things which are not available here. If you see models, they are consuming ghee, which is not common there. If you go, I was coming across a video of one model of Victoria's Secret. So she regularly consumes ghee, and she couldn't even pronounce ghee properly. Right? But here we are like no ghee, no oil. I'll be using olive oil. I'll be eating avocados. I'll be eating more of berries, blueberries. Why are you eating such stuff which is not regional? And why do you think that regional food is not healthy? If we as a society believe that, yes, this is healthy and we will promote this, and this is natural that upcoming generation or the kids will find that particular food more interesting. So this is what I feel we need to be sure that whatever we are getting, it's seasonal.
Seasonal and regional.
And regional. Yeah. That is the best food, because don't try to look for apples in summers. Apple is a fruit of winter. So there will be ways where they will be, putting up some growth hormones in the fruits so that you get fruits of season.
Advice on eating seasonal and regional is so crucial for so many parents watching this series. Now, I want to come to portion size. Like we discussed earlier, we have seen children eating adult-sized noodles. How do we regulate portion sizes in children and in their snacking habits?
First of all, it's more about choosing the healthier options. Okay, so if we give them the healthier options, definitely it will be less dense in calories. For example, even if they're hungry, if you give them one banana and if you give them one laddu, so laddu is going to give them calories which is like double and triple of a banana. Just by giving them laddu, even you will think that the quantity was so small. This might not have, sufficed your child, right? But that is not true. So when it comes to portion control, if you have a habit, or maybe your family has a habit of eating too frequently, or maybe just munching, So ultimately, child also develop habit. So there is one thing which is hunger, and there is another thing which is appetite. So we have to teach them the difference between these two things. Hunger is something; it's a complex process. When you are hungry, it's because your body is telling you. You get the movements of your digestive tract. You get the hunger pangs. We call that we are getting this movements in our stomach, which we call as the hunger pangs. We get hungry or you feel very low in energy. These are the signs that your body is telling you that you need to eat. You need calories. But when it comes to appetite, it's more about cravings. Suddenly, you just hear somebody talking about some food. Maybe just you pass by some food outlet, or maybe you just pass by Domino's, or you just have the smell of that food. So you get this urge of just having this food. That is something where you have to distinguish that this is just a craving and this is hunger. This is where I need to eat. My body is actually demanding, and this is just a temporary thing which will just fade away, maybe in a couple of minutes. That is the time when you can give alternatives. Okay, you can have some lighter snack, maybe something healthier snack instead of having thing. Because your body has now demanded, your body has commanded you to eat. So you will have to eat. So instead of going for that particular thing, you go for something healthier, maybe a fruit or maybe a healthy snack. So when it comes to portion size of a kid, we cannot always control the portion if they're hungry. So we have to just be wise with the option so that it is bulky also and it's not leading to a lot of calories. And when it comes to the major meals, we need to be sure that the plate has good proportion of proteins and fiber because these are the two things which are very satiating. But when it's just carbs, so that becomes even more challenging because you're having just a plate full of carbs. So you might end up eating more. But when you're combining it with good source of protein and fiber in any form, for example, if you have some eggs side on the side, maybe you have chicken or maybe some paneer or any vegetarian sources of proteins, and by side you have some curd or maybe salad, and with that you're serving maybe rice or noodle or maybe chapati, anything. You won't get the craving of having more of carbs. And make sure that your two parts of your plate are full with vegetables of any form. It can be a salad or it can be a cooked vegetable. And the 1/4 part is filled with proteins and then the rest 1/4 with carbs. This is how you will actually be able to control the portion of calorie density. We cannot control the portion of diet or we cannot give the kids very restrictive diet. We will inculcate the habits of not taking food as a pleasure or maybe as a savior in the stress. They will need if they have a good appetite. So they will have some food, but we have to make sure what is actually contributing to that portion of the.
That's so brilliant. The last question that I want to ask you is there are so many misconceptions about childhood obesity. For example, your first point was about how a lot of people in society think obesity is cute. Are there any other misconceptions?
Not as of now, like even people think, even when the child is born, it's a proud for people. Definitely a child should not be underweight. But when the child is like 3 kgs or 4 kgs, the mother is so proud, like my child was 4 kgs and he was born. I'm like, this is not something you should be happy about. You should be concerned about.
Oh, really?
So because there is another factor which is genetic. We missed out on that factor. It's genetic, and the people who have the susceptibility of these obesity and overweight. So their children also have this tendency of becoming overweight or obese when they are grown up. So such people should be aware, and those people are not aware that their kids has more tendency to become overweight and obese than other kids. So they should be more conscious about their diet and their eating pattern.
But I do see a lot of newborns who weigh 3.5, 3.8, 4 kilos. And that's not normal? I thought that was normal.
No, in some cases it depends. It also depends on the child's, it depends on the, length of the child as well. And the children born to obese or overweight parents have again higher tendency. Because it's not just about the genetics, then it comes about the patterns because their parents are following specific dietary behaviors and now they will be passed on to the kids.
Everything, and I never considered food here, everything is a learned habit.
Yes.
All the more reason for adults to be responsible.
Yes, everything is learned actually. We are actually the models for our upcoming generation.
Yes.
So this is something we as a society, we as parents, or maybe as an education system, we can actually help the child. It's not the responsibility of one person. And especially when it comes to child who is just the age of 5 years or 10 years, we cannot hold them accountable for this. It starts from home because children get influenced by the environment and the people around them. Because a child is spending around 6 to 7 hours in school, like the period when they're awake. So half of the time they're spending in school and half the rest of they're spending in the house. Whatever behavior we are transferring, they will learn that only.
So true. In everything you do, we at Subak Health Tech wish you only the best. And I am sure, starting from today's session, for so many ongoing sessions, we will be working and collaborating together, because it's also, a passion of Subak Health Tech as a company to ensure that the best quality advice, the best quality medical talk reaches people. This is an endeavor from our side. It was such a pleasure talking to you today.
Same here, Jamie, and I would love to have more conversation with you regarding health and especially the child obesity. Because see, if we don't work, because you are doing a brilliant job and the technology is working, there are cases when people need help of this technology that you're working upon, because they're not able to do it normally because of some reasons, but because of the health issues also.
Yes.
Right. Right. It's not happening normally. The people are not able to conceive normally. So why? Because if these children are not, the lifestyle of these children are not corrected, then in future they will become the adults and they will be facing the same issues.
Exactly. One of the very scary things that I see is everybody on Instagram or TikTok are like a certified nutritionist or a dietitian, and they give such incorrect advice. And therefore, voices like you are so crucial.
People are following the influencers more.
Yes. So true.
They're influenced by something, and whatever they're saying, it's just they're following it. They don't know whether this knowledge is verified. Whatever they're sharing, it's true or not. Because the celebrity or the influencer has said something that they are following, so people will start following them. It might not have some harmful consequences, but it might have. It might not work for your body if it has worked for the person. Maybe they're just doing for the sake of likes or views or just the popularity. So this is something concerns me.
So important. And I'm glad that your passion drives you and your will to do more for society is what driving you. We are so fortunate. Again, from Subak Health Tech, we are so indebted to you, and we are in so much awe of whatever you're doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
It was wonderful having this conversation with you. I'm looking forward to more such conversations.
Indeed. Lovely talking to you too.